What did they say to you?
Some threatening stuff to my life. So, you know, I was this close to really going back and like diving all the way in, but kind of just went back and told the official. And when I told the official what he said, he's like, "Oh, he got to get out of here." And he got to get out of here.
Do you like that, I guess, you know, I know you got fined a couple weeks ago when you said something to the fan. Do you like that that's kind of an option to you, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, I can't necessarily say that that hasn't been an option. That's kind of been an option, but I think, you know, there are times where you're just in the moment, you know, and you respond. And so, you know, that's been an option. That wasn't like, oh, I just found out that was an option once I got fined. Like, that's been there. The league has made that clear to us for years that that's been there. But like I said, we are human beings, and there are times where you just respond, you know, and try to learn from the mistakes. But, you know, like I said, there's still that human side, that human element to it. That, you know, sometimes you're just going to respond, and that's just it.
Vinnie Goodwill is here. What's up, Vinnie? Good to see you, brother. How you doing?
I'm doing good, Michael Holley. How about you?
Oh, I'm doing great. And I am in that space, Vinnie. I don't know about you. I'm in that space where I understand where Draymond Green is coming from. Sometimes, you know, Draymond says some things like, I don't know about that. Or he does some things like with Jordan Poole earlier this year. I said, I don't know about that, Draymond. I wouldn't have taken that option, even though sometimes you just respond. You can take that a lot of ways. But, you know, Vinnie, I feel like maybe from where we sit, it's an unusual position. Because I'll tell you about one of the arguments. One of the arguments I had years ago. I never forgot it.
Okay.
Because I had to really explain to somebody, and people don't really, a lot of people really don't understand what it is that we do. I'm not saying it is so inexplicable. No man, no woman can explain what it means to be a sports journalist working in the sports industry. But a lot of people don't get it, that it's a job. It is a job.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember a guy saying to me a while ago, hey, you know, you go to the arena all the time. You go to the stadium all the time. When's the last time you paid to go to the stadium? And I said, hey, man, when's the last time you paid to go to work? It's like, man, it's a job, man. Like, yeah, we're seeing some of the greatest athletes in the world. We're seeing some of the greatest athletes in the world, but it's not like we're sitting there with our Pistons, Celtics jerseys on, hats turned around, and cheering. And then after the game, oh, I guess I better go into the locker room. No, you can't do that. This is a profession. If you're going to do it the right way. There's some people who do that, and shame on them. But
yes, it is.
People who are trying to do it the right way are really invested in it. But the point is, we have maybe gotten to the point, some of us in sports journalism gotten to the point of forgetting what it's like to go to an arena and to sit around a bunch of people who ain't thinking about what the lead is, what kind of question they're going to ask. They're just sitting there, they're drinking, they're having a good time, and if somebody takes it too far. And I think that's where we are right now. And not just the NBA, it's everywhere. You get a crowd of people together, Vinnie, and 95% of them, right, 95% of them are having a good time. They're having a good time. Like, you have people around, you know, talking a little bit of trash, but in a good spirit, but talking trash. Then somebody comes in like, whoa, what? What'd you just say? Where is that coming from? So I'm sure there are people in Milwaukee last night going to Draymond. Hey, Draymond, you can't shoot. Oh, Draymond, you lucky. Steph is on your team. And then somebody's like, I will drink your blood and take your family. Yo, man. We were just talking about basketball.
A little different.
What the hell?
Here's the other part of it. Here's the other part of it. Milwaukee is the hometown of Jordan Poole.
Ooh, okay. That's a twist. That's a twist. I wonder if that kind of set the atmosphere for it. But I don't know. You tell me. My position is, this sounds very defeatist. My position is that there is no law, no amendment, no legislation, no tweak, no rule that the NBA or anybody else can implement that will change this situation. This is about the human condition. This is always going to happen. It's just a matter of what the NBA is going to do. You got to think ahead. All right, when it happens, not if, when it happens, how will we respond as a league? Is that too defeated? Am I being too negative on that?
No, you are looking at the Twitter world that we operate in. We operate in a world of tweets. And all of a sudden, before you could yell from a reasonable distance, right? And nobody would see you. You could yell at your favorite athlete or your most hated athlete and say whatever you had to say with a comfortable distance. Then Twitter came. And then you could actually at the person. And there's a chance that they might see it. Most times they don't, but there's a chance they can see it. So then you do that and other people see it. And they jump on and say, yeah, that's whatever, mob mentality, right? There's no greater mob than a mob inside of a sports arena where it is 20,000 people ganging up against 15 and 4 or 5 coaches, or in the NBA now, 15 coaches.
Now, I was going to say, you need that second and third row for the coaches now, right? Who's that? Oh, coach.
So no greater incentive, no greater accelerant, right? No greater alcohol than to be gassed up by everybody around you and to feel like you can say whatever the hell you want to say. The NBA's biggest advantage is selling proximity, right? Proximity to the players, proximity to the event, proximity to the entire league as a whole. They're not in the ivory tower like the NFL. And they're not so far away like Major League Baseball that, baseball doesn't understand exactly what's going on. They're stuck in 1955. So that is part of the give and take. Like give you, that's true, earlier than that. Yeah, 1955. That might be a little too progressive for Major League Baseball. We can go into story time with Vinnie. You want to go into story time with Vinnie?
Let's do it. Hey, listen, you know what? Hey, I love story time with Vinnie. Come on now. I got a little something to sip on here. Here we go. You got something to sip on? Let's product placement. Ha.
There we go.
Anyway,
there we go.
Let's go.
This is not the love doctor, right? Normally the love doctor gives great advice and about bad wedding songs and how you use relationship conduct. This is not that. This was Vinnie. This was Vinnie in Memphis in 2010. My first year on the Pistons beat. I'm still 25 years old, wet behind the ears, barely had a mustache, about 20 pounds lighter, maybe a little bit more, right?
All right, man, listen.
So there's this fan.
You were underweight. You were underweight then. You were underweight. That's the only problem. Yeah, it was more pounds, but you hadn't eaten enough, Vinnie. You hadn't eaten enough.
No, genetics hadn't kicked in. That's all. That's all that was. Those genetics hadn't kicked in. So me, as a Pistons writer for the Detroit News, we used to sit courtside at games. Now we don't sit courtside as much. They've sold those seats, right? So we're sitting courtside, damn straight. So there's a fan, Michael, and he had on overalls and nothing else. Just overalls. Okay?
Okay.
Just some dingy, denim, nasty ass overalls. Okay? He's heckling the Pistons. It's second quarter of the game. He's heckling the Pistons. You suck, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, this guy's a little extra. It wasn't a full house. It wasn't the grind house that you see now in Memphis. It was, just a dude, right? And once, and I almost lost my job because of this. I came close to, being ready to lose my job, rather. He goes from calling the Pistons players, you suck and everything else, Michael Holley, and then he said the magic word. He called one of the players boy. Okay. And something triggered inside of 25-year-old me. I turned around. I looked at the guy. I said, and now this guy is, big dude in overalls, right? Every
overalls.
stereotypical, yes, overalls, and nothing under.
In Memphis.
In Memphis.
Okay.
In Memphis. He was more Tennessee than Memphis. Does that make sense?
First of all, how do you get into the game? Don't they have those, like, and you go in the store, no shirts, no shoes, no service? Like, how you just let anybody in the game? You're like, hey, you got anything else? I know we usually don't let bags in the arena, but do you have a bag with your shirt in there? You got any drawers on?
I mean, he had on overalls, so technically he was covered, right?
Oh, I guess so. And then the funk are just out exposed. Okay, anyway, go ahead. I'm just getting distracted.
He looked like Pigpen with overalls, right?
Yeah, I bet he did.
So I turned around to the guy, and he probably had me at that point by a good 100 pounds, at least, right? He was a big dude, but me and my hood spidey senses, I turned around to the guy and I said, "Not another word." And he actually sat down.
From press row.
From press row. Like the word boy just triggered me. And it wasn't me trying to defend players or anything like that. It was literally me just being triggered. And thank goodness for the writer next to me, Vince Ellis for the Detroit Free Press at the time. He literally grabbed my shoulder and said, "Don't do it." And that's what I just said. Not another word. So, yeah, we know that fans jump way out of pocket. This is before Twitter. This is just a dude who's drunk in some damn overalls.
I love that. So he didn't say anything else? Nothing else?
Nothing.
See,
nothing else.
And that is my favorite part about that story. I love all the imagery. It's like a short film. I can see it all. The guy in the overalls got the whole thing. I can see him. I can see young Vinnie Goodwill, young underweight Vinnie Goodwill for the Detroit News, working for something called a newspaper. You see, boys and girls, there's something called a newspaper. In a newspaper, never mind, another day.
Long time ago. Long time ago.
Long time ago. There's something called a fold, and the story placement above the fold is a big thing. And then A1, and then B1, and C1. Anyway, but I can see the whole thing. But my favorite part of the story is that the guy stopped. Because most of the time, they won't. I don't know, maybe he didn't understand that you really had no authority to stop him. Maybe he thought you were working for the team. You're there with the laptop and all that stuff. But I think a lot of people won't stop now because, as Draymond said, he continued to say, hey, what did they get out of it? They get a rise out of it. Okay, get kicked out of an arena. And it's a big thing now. In arenas and stadiums, they say this. And do they follow up? We don't check. We're not doing our job. We're not following up. We say, this person has been banned.
Banned.
Forever. They've been banned forever from Ford Field. They've been banned forever from...
Forever.
Yeah, ever. The Boston Garden
You can ban me from Ford Field.
I knew that was coming when I said it. But are we following up? How do you ban a fan lifetime? How do you do that? Is it you have facial recognition software when they come up? What if they have on, if they usually, the guy with overalls be like, no, I'm going to change my game up. I'm not wearing those overalls anymore. Now I'm going to go button down. I'm going to change up my beard a little bit. And I'm going to go in there.
Look, they don't have pictures. They don't have pictures. They don't have pictures of nobody waiting at the entrance for this.
Yeah, and then you can turn around. You can't profile me. I go to the stadium. Let's say I finally have a day off. Oh, I'm not complaining. But let's say I finally have a day off, Vinny. Finally had a day off. I say, I'm going to use my day off.
You had one last week.
Okay, all right, stop counting. Now stop counting my off days. Now I don't count yours. Let's count my off days here. And I go to the stadium, and they're like, no, you were the one who was cussing somebody out. Like, no, I wasn't. I may look like that person. Like, you can't do it. So Draymond is absolutely right. Fan gets your attention because that's what they're trying to do when they at you. That's what they're trying to do when they're sitting courtside. And some people take it too far. They feel like their whole mission of coming to the game is just to get that just to have somebody glare at them or cuss them out. And you're sitting there as a fan, you don't want all this. I just came to watch the Warriors and the Bucks. I think that's more entertaining than listening to you. I never heard of you. Your material's I don't want to hear it for the whole game. Maybe a line or two. And so it's more problematic for NBA players because they do get a fine when they respond. There is something coming from the league because the league, this progressive league that we always give them credit, the league is stuck in 1955, Vinnie, to go back to your baseball example. The league is stuck because they're going with the customer's always right. Well, we can't do this. It's not good for business. Well, I'll tell you what's not good for business is to have somebody in your crowds, several persons in your crowds across North America doing this kind of stuff. It really ruins the fan experience, I think. I think you should allow players to respond within reason. Now, if a player is really getting out of pocket and just kind of dives in on a fan, yeah, but I think it should be case by case. But most of the time, automatically, if you go at a fan, you cuss them out, you're going to get a fine. And I think it's the advantage. The advantage goes to the person who tried to start it in the first place.
I don't trip too much on players replying. I really don't. I don't. Look, there's a phrase. I believe it was in the Jay-Z lyric. Don't bark up that tree will fall on you. In my professional life, I have definitely lived that way on Twitter. If someone has barked up my tree, I reply in kind. I don't do it as much. I have to be more professional in my older age. You know what I mean? It's not always worth it. But you don't find. I don't think you find the players like. Remember LeBron was getting heckled last year in Indianapolis, and someone said something about maybe assaulting his son or something like that, and LeBron went and pointed him out and got him up out of there. Yeah. Get that dude up out of there. I've also been in situations where I've seen fans heckle a player and it was funny. Yeah. I've seen situations where fans heckle a player and it was funny, or fans heckle a player and the player thought it was funny. There was once post Malice at the Palace, Steven Jackson was playing for the Milwaukee Bucks, and a fan decided to make a couple of cracks about the Malice at the Palace with Steven Jackson during a stoppage in play. And you know what Steven Jackson did? Like the rest of everybody else on press row? He laughed. Because whatever was said was actually really funny. It was freaking hilarious.
Okay,
it was funny.
Well, listen, I'm good with that. Okay, that's fun. Okay, that's fine. But, ultimately, it's going to get to the point where...
Threats, no. You can't have that.
Yeah, threats. I wonder what the NBA will say. I know the NBA will say something, but we'll see. We'll see if it will lead to anything larger, or if it's just
you can see it on the TNT Overtime app. I'm sure the NBA won't have it up anymore, but in real time, you could see Draymond Green turning to him during a spot stoppage and play and saying, "You're giving me a pass? Give me a pass for what? Giving me a pass for what?" And I'm like, what is he talking about? And then a few minutes later, the fan is throwing on that he answers, and then he answers the question in the media. So whatever the guy said something about, maybe he said something along the lines of, if I could piece it together, saying something about threatening his life, but said, but I'm going to give you a pass. And then Draymond responds back, give you a pass for what? And that's how a guy like that gets ejected. Why would you pay all that money to get ejected? That's my problem. You paying $3-4 grand for some courtside seats?
Nah, I probably didn't pay for them. Or got some hookup or whatever, or money to burn. I don't know what it is. But hey, people are turned on by all sorts of things. Now, as the music comes on, I'm just going to tell you this. Speaking of pass, you think I'm just going to let it pass that you're sitting here wearing Detroit Lions blue today?
This is not Detroit Lions blue.
Yes, it is. That is Detroit Lions blue.
The Lions blue is a dull blue. This blue is popping. This is Penny Hardaway blue. Get your blues correct.
You just try to make that
recognize
up.
the shoes. Recognize the shoes behind me. Penny Hardaway blue.
I see it.
Okay.
They're 6 and 7. They're on the rise. They're ascending. The Detroit Lions, if they make the playoffs after a 1-6 start, they'll be the first team in 52 years to do that. Why do I know that? Because the last team to do it happened the year I was born. Hey, listen, you gotta take the little progress when it comes, Vinnie. Your Detroit Lions are about to do something that hasn't. Yes, it's progress. Hasn't
My
been
Detroit
done
Lions
in over 50 years.
If they waiting on me, I'm a deadbeat dad.
They're waiting for you. Yes, come on home. You're the prodigal son. Come on home. Come home.
Not never.
We're waiting for you.
But I wonder what this means to the city of Detroit. I just got a text from Detroit's own Vincent Goodwill, who says, the Lions stink, period. So, you know what? Some people just don't know how to be happy.
Is that right, Vinnie? You don't know how to be happy? Is that fair?
What's to be happy about?
What? Okay, said every unhappy person. What's there to be happy about? Come on, Vinnie.
You would. If you go up and miss 2 free throws in a big game like that, and then you come to the locker room and the guys laughing and joking, you'd be questioning what type of teammates you got. So I know who I'm rocking with every single night. So I'm absolutely okay with the way he's feeling. In a couple of days, hopefully he leave it here today. If not, take the car ride home, but try not to take it in the house. But if it's one guy on this ball club that I love going up to the free throw line in the clutch is AD. He's been on the other side a lot more times in our 4 years together about closing out games at the free throw line than on the other side. So not worried about it one bit.
All right, LeBron James last night, really strange game, Vinny. I was watching our guy Chris Haynes at the end doing the interviewing on TNT. Shout out Chris Haynes. I see you getting a compliment for his fantastic post-game skills, but he had a lot to sum up there. He wound up talking to Jason Tatum after the game. At one point in the fourth quarter, I thought he was going to talk to either LeBron James or Anthony Davis after the game because the Lakers were down 20, Vinny. Mm-hmm. Then they made a comeback. The Celtics were down 13 with 5 minutes to go. Then they make a comeback. They force it to overtime after Anthony Davis missed 2 free throws that would have put them up by 4 with about 28 seconds left. And then the Celtics pulled away and won in overtime over the Lakers. So if you look at this game last night, there are a few things to pull away from it. What are a couple of things that stand out to you from this Lakers-Celtics matchup, which is always regular season or postseason? Lakers fans and Celtics fans, they both take it too far because it means no matter how good the teams are, this is a game that means something to them, to both sides, regardless. So what do you take away, the objective observer, what do you take away from this?
Well, for the Celtics, it's an interesting thing, but, and I guess we can flesh that out later, right? The Celtics thing is this. Joe Mazulla trusts his players so friggin' much that maybe they've learned how to play through some of those ridiculous runs that another team will throw on you that you're not tripping on it, right? Because when the Lakers went from being down double digits to being up, 13 or whatever it was, my man Joe was just sitting there chilling, right? He's like, y'all will figure it out. I'm surprised he didn't call a timeout. But the Lakers,
I don't know if that's trust. I don't know if that's
seems
trust.
like it. It seems. You think it's inactivity? You think that's
dude, he was like, hey, man, can you believe we in Los Angeles? Hey, man, there's a game going on.
Wow.
Time out.
No,
Time out.
I think
20.
I think there's a level of him maybe realize, maybe I'm giving him too much credit, but there's a bigger picture here. Sometimes the coach won't be able to save you, and you're going to have to figure some things out on your own. Like the whole Phil Jackson thing. I don't think he's necessarily taking it that far, but I do think he wonders if his players can experience some adversity, especially considering how they turn the ball over. Like it looked like the NBA Finals, where Tatum and Brown couldn't get shots up because they were throwing the ball all over the place. And then you just look up and boom, they figured it out, right? But that's not the interesting thing from last night, because I don't think the Celtics are making the finals anyway. The interesting thing from last night, I said it.
I mean, I'm going to come back to that. Go ahead, keep going.
For the Lakers, there is a formula, right? There is a formula for them to win and be competitive. You got to be hellacious at times on defense. LeBron and AD have to make shots. But the problem lies is that neither one of those guys, LeBron or Anthony Davis, can sustain the effort for 48 minutes. Anthony Davis was good until he wasn't. And it wasn't that he was bad. It was that his battery literally ran out. And that's not me bagging on conditioning or anything like that. He's a big dude. And he's asked to cover a lot of ground defensively. He's been asked to do so much over the past 2 weeks. But when you look at some of the Lakers' struggles late in games, it's almost like the battery just goes out. And when it goes out, you don't get a second win or third win. I think that's the case for most big men. Most big men can't get their second win as quick as maybe guards can. So if you've been relying on Anthony Davis all game and all of a sudden he's got nothing left, what do the Lakers have? Because LeBron, late in games, as a function of age, experience, or whatever, he does not go to the basket anymore. He does not want to get fouled. He will stand back there and jack up threes, which he's become just good enough at to make him feel like it's a viable option, right? If he were a bad shooter, he could rationalize going to the rim. But because he's been a just good enough shooter, and he hit a couple threes last night, he can say, you know what? I'm going to sit back here and kick it, as opposed to going to the lane, going to the line, where I'm about a 65, 66% free throw shooter. So if your two best players have big-time wars late in games, you have problems.
Yeah, and I think, back to your point about Anthony Davis and the batteries being out, and I know Darvin Ham said that after the game. Hey, I got to do a better job of strategically getting these guys rest. He was a little winded. I mean, missing 2 free throws there. Because you make one. That's
legs. Right. But missing free throws is just legs. Is legs or nerves. And I don't think he's scared. I just think it was legs.
Not scared. Yeah, and those guys, so they got 2, and we'll talk about this in a second. We'll talk about the rankings. At least one publication attempted to rank the league, the top 100 players in the league recently. And according to this publication, we'll see the list in a second. According to this publication, the Lakers have 2 of the top 10 to 12 players in the league. So 2 top 12 players in the NBA. Okay. So if you got 2 top 12 players in the NBA, you have convinced Russell Westbrook to come off the bench, and you haven't lost him. As a matter of fact, he's just as engaged as he was when he was starting, but more effective. Okay, because sometimes his engagement was too much engagement. But as a guy off the bench, I thought he played well last night. Looked like he was going to lead them in overtime. Scored the first 4 points in overtime. Did well. That's not enough, though. It's just not enough. What they have, their formula, is just not enough to make them contenders. They need something else. Whereas the Celtics, I mean, you look at them before this Lakers game, I thought the Warriors really exposed them. The Warriors know how to play the Celtics. They don't fear them. They still have that big brother thing. Like your big brother just knows stuff, just knows nuances and has some wisdom that you'll eventually get. But Big Brother ain't about to share it with you right now, because Big Brother is holding on to, hey, I got an advantage over you, and when you get to my level, okay, then we'll have that conversation. But you're not yet. You're not there yet, so I'm going to take advantage of you. So they didn't look great against the Warriors. They looked lost against the Clippers. They needed this game. They needed to win this one to end their road trip. But it's interesting to see them now figure things out and to do it behind a guy who told Chris Haynes after the game, he said, when I step on the floor, I'm not going A-Sherrod on you now, but this is what Jason Tatum said about himself. He said, when I step on the floor, I feel like I'm the best player. I feel like I'm the best player when I step on the floor. I miss
somebody watched A-Sherrod last week. I like that.
Oh yeah. Listen, I thought he was out of his mind when he said he's the best player in the league. I don't think Tatum is and Tatum's playing very well. Some people think he's the MVP. I still don't think he's the best player in basketball. But Gary, now that I brought that up, you got that list? You got that list from the Ringer? Because I want to get Vinnie. Oh, we don't have it yet. We don't have it yet. I thought we had it. Because I want to get your take on it. They don't have Tatum as the best player in basketball. They don't have LeBron, and they don't have Anthony Davis. And they don't have Steph.
Neither do I.
Okay, I can't wait to talk to Natalie about this.
She is fuming Friday. Right now. There is steam coming out of that woman's ears as we speak.
Yeah, I can't wait to talk about this. But before we get to that list, I just want to ask you, because we'll get it. You just said something. I can't let that slide by. You said the Celtics are not going to get to the finals. Who do you like? And why not? I mean, I guess that's the same thing. Who do you like, and why won't the Celtics get there?
It's not an indictment of the Celtics. Let me be perfectly clear. It's not an indictment of the Celtics. I think they are going to maximize every ounce of energy they can out of like the heartbreak of losing in the finals, right? This is what you're seeing in them. You're seeing a team that once they figured things out last January, right? Once they started to figure it out, they found an identity. They figured out how to play behind Tatum and Brown. And then you add Malcolm Brogdon, who's supposed to basically settle things down, you know, when things get chaotic late. What happened last night was they didn't even get to him. They didn't even go to him. It was Tatum and Brown not throwing the ball all over the floor, getting good shots without a timeout. I thought that was masterful. I thought that was maturation. I thought that was maximum maturity to me, right? The problem is, in a series where everything is tied goes to the team with the best player. The best player is that man in Milwaukee, and he's a problem.
Okay, best player. And all right, I can, and look, and if he's not the best player, he's not outside of anybody's top three. Nor he shouldn't be outside of.
I voted for him for MVP last year and don't regret it.
Yep, you can't go lower than third with Giannis. But is that enough though? Is that enough? If you've got the best player, is the Boston, Milwaukee, are they that equivalent? Where you say, all right, well, I can't go wrong. Boston, Milwaukee, I might as well just say go to the best player. Is it that close between these two teams?
Well, consider this. Consider that Boston has injury issues with their best two interior defenders, with Robert Williams III and Al Horford. One guy has a bad body, but one guy's a bit of an injury concern. Another guy's old.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Al Horford is old. That's a concern for me. Joe Mazulla, coaching in the playoff series, high stakes, that's a concern, as is Mike Budenholzer.
Hey, great point.
As is Mike Budenholzer.
No, Mazulla, it really is. It's a great point that is not mentioned often enough. And you know, I understand why. I understand why it's not mentioned in the regular season, because it's the regular season. But once you start to advance, if we got to nitpick, it's like when we talk about best player, best team, at some point, you got to start nitpicking to create some separation because they're great. You're talking about greatness. So when you're talking about greatness, you really got to get beyond that, those top 2 or 3 layers and really get into the nitty gritty of it. And I think that's a major concern of all the teams. Generally, when teams are trying in basketball, when they're trying to get to the next level, They usually don't change coaches. Football, they will. Hey, we went as far as we can go. We need a new coach to push us over the edge. They don't say that in basketball. Hey, you know, when Michael Jordan's Bulls were losing to your Pistons and couldn't get over the hump, actually, they did change coaches.
And they changed coaches, and guess what else happened? Phil Jackson wound up on that Summer Jam screen too.
Right.
Phil Jackson got popped too.
Yeah, I know. I know. But they did.
Just in case you forgot.
But yeah, they had Doug Collins, and they went to Phil. But Phil was the coach for the Scottie Pippen migraine game. Am I mistaken? Wasn't Phil Jackson coaching them then?
Phil was the coach for the Scottie Pippen a game that is so near and dear to my heart. 41 minutes, 1 of 10 shooting, dominated by Dennis Rodman and Mark Aguirre. It was a masterpiece. It was masterful. My bad. Go ahead. I digress. We digress.
So it was, yeah, I know we do, but I just gotta say this. So when Scotty talks about, hey, why are people giving Jordan all this love and why not me? You can't have 2 games where we just say a couple of words and a couple of numbers and people know what we're talking about. When we say the migraine game, not making light of migraines, but when we say the migraine game, NBA fans know we're talking about you. When we say 1.8 seconds, NBA fans know we talking about you. So you can't have games like that. They'd be like, hey, I'm like Jordan. No, you're not. And it's okay.
All we got to do is say 2 words. All we got to say 2 words for Scottie Pippen. You know what those 2 words are?
What?
Sitting Bull.
Oh, my God. That's it. That's
Sitting Bull.
But I'm telling you, we're going to get to this list of top players. We're going to get your opinion on it. And also, NBA players usually win championships. We don't give that credit to those coaches. So your Joe Mazulla point is an excellent one. It's an excellent one. When it gets down to a conference finals, or an NBA finals, can Cool Joe remain cool when he's going up against a Steve Kerr or a Ty Lue or Mike Budenholzer, even Mike Budenholzer? All right, Vinny, we got it. Here we are. Here's the list. Ringer, my boy Kevin O'Connor, came out with the top 100 NBA players, but let's just rest in his top 10 right here. And look at 8 and 9. Let's work our way up. We'll get to one. One is staring at you if you're watching on Peacock TV. If you're listening on Sirius XM Channel 85, we will give you 10-1. John Moran at 10. And then 8 and 9, he's got Davis and James. Davis first at 8 and LeBron at 9. Embiid at 7, Tatum at 6. Now, Kevin Durant at 5, behind Luka. Don't want to put Kevin Durant behind Luka. I don't. Anyway, we'll get to that. We'll get there. The Joker is at 3. So the Joker, Philly fans, I hear you. Philly, stand up. The Ringer has Jokic 4 slots ahead of Embiid. I just want y'all to wrestle with that for a little bit in Philly. And number 2, Steph Curry. And number 1, you just said it, is Giannis. And I go back and forth on this, Vinny. After last year's NBA Finals, after seeing Steph Curry do his thing, carry his team to a title, I said, that's enough. That's enough. I've seen enough. I'm going to give it to Steph. So Steph still, even with the Warriors, life and death with 500, even with the Warriors, go on the road and act a fool. Act like they don't even know how to play basketball when they're on the road. They're a mess on the road. Even with all that, Steph Curry is my number 1 player in the NBA. What do you think of this list? Any issues with it?
John Moran is a little low. LeBron and AD might be a little high. Kevin Durant is most certainly too low. Like, this is no disrespect to the Joker. None at all. And I know Kevin Durant is not the same guy that's going to do it every single night and do it defensively that maybe he was, pre-MCL and certainly pre-Achilles injury. But to me, 1, 2, and 3 are all interchangeable. It is Giannis, it is Steph, it is Kevin Durant, and everybody else sort of falls in line behind that. But I would definitely put Ja Morant ahead of AD and LeBron simply because I can count on him to play to close out games. Simply because I can count on him to be a better version of himself later in games as far as being impactful, especially at his height.
Well, it's almost like we're talking about your favorite sport, wink, wink, soccer. And we have groups. So it's really, Group D right there is appropriate. 7 through 10, you got Embiid, Davis, James, Morant, and all of them are in the same group. And I know Kevin O'Connor didn't do this on purpose, but all of them, you can make an argument about injuries, injury concerns, which affects the rating. So yeah, you can count on Ja Morant. He's younger. He's a closer. He's more capable of carrying a team at this stage of his career than LeBron is at his. But out of all those guys, 7 through 10, who you really riding with for 70 games? I ain't saying 80. I ain't saying 75. Who can you say, I know that guy's gonna give me 70 if he wants to? Load management aside. I mean, that's a major, right? You say none. So I think that's a major concern. So let me quit that list for a second and talk about quitting. Because you mentioned the Detroit Lions and how you're not wearing Detroit Lions blue.
No, I am not.
You're wearing Penny Hardaway blue. Quitting is a story for you personally, and it's a story in the league, in the NFL right now. Because, Vinnie, the story that just blows my mind is happening in Atlanta, where head coach Arthur Smith of those 5-8 Atlanta Falcons, you're still in the divisional race. You're 5-8. You're only one game out of first place. You're 5-8. The 5-8 Falcons made a quarterback switch. Marcus Mariota, you're out. And they bring in Desmond Ridder, rookie, 3rd-round pick. Okay, fine. I thought nothing of it. Okay, all right, they're 5-8. They're going to switch it up. Marcus Mariota said, oh, for real? Demotion? Well, I quit. I'll see y'all later. And he left. Okay? Like, he's done for the year. He's done.
You can't fire me because I quit.
I quit. You know what? I don't like y'all anyway. Okay, I don't like the job. Y'all ain't no good. Okay, you're going to say we were no good with me? You're certainly no good without me. I'm out of here. And I think we were talking during the break, and our producer Gary Carter says, maybe that's the last we see of Mariota. Well, I can understand why he quit. Now, I've never quit a job. I never quit a job.
You've never quit a job?
That's not true. Quitting under contract quit? No. I'd let the contract expire and be like, thank you very much. Okay. Thank you.
Didn't you work at a newspaper?
They didn't have no contracts. They didn't have contracts.
So how did you leave? How did you leave?
I mean, it was just like, I guess I have quit a job. Is that quitting? We're like, hey, I love you. It's
resigning.
not in it.
Resigning.
I've never quit. Let me rephrase that, Vinny. I've never quit in a way of, it's never been hostile, contentious. I never just walked out and like, you know what? This is done. We're done. You're done with me. I'm done with you. Hey, keep my name out your mouth. No. None of that has ever happened. Now, I was asked to leave once. But it wasn't personal. The whole show was asked to leave. That was back in the day. Way back on but that's a different story for a different day. But Marcus Mariota, I can understand why he would walk out because he had a 2-year contract for small money with the Falcons. I'm guessing, Vinny, they may have told him, you're our bridge guy. we can't commit to you for 5 years. We're not going to give you a big-time contract, but for these 2 years, hey, I know you have chances to go other places, but we need you to be our bridge guy. And he's doing the best he can as a bridge, and they blew up the bridge. So he may feel, I'm just guessing, he may feel betrayed that they went back on their word, because he could have gone anywhere else to be a backup. I mean, he was a backup with the Raiders. He can go somewhere and be a backup. Why would you go to the Falcons to be a backup? They're a rebuilding team. Hell, let me go to Kansas City and be a backup. I'll back up Patrick Mahomes, get a ring, have fun, witness greatness. Now you ask me to be a backup to a Desmond Ridder in Atlanta on a 5-8 team? Screw you guys. I'm out. So I've never quit a job. You've quit a team, though. Tell me what it's like to quit, Vinnie. Tell me what it's like to quit a team.
It feels good, actually. It feels freeing, mind you. Like, don't get me wrong. I was angry and upset. Right? Let me set the stage for y'all. July 27, 1999. I was a young and tender teenager. You know, going into my sophomore year of high school. About to go into my sophomore year of high school, right? The only thing that I had...
Same.
Yeah,
1999.
right?
Yeah,
right. The only thing I was looking forward to as a Lions fan was Barry Sanders breaking the all-time rushing record. That was our Super Bowl. We knew we weren't going to a Super Bowl. The best quarterback that the Lions had the previous year, his name was Scott Mitchell. He got benched after the second game for a rookie named Charlie Batch.
Oof.
So we were literally saying, you know what? We are going to watch this season to watch Barry in his climb. He was 1,500 yards away. Something he got in his sleep his last 5 years. We're going to watch Barry Sanders get the rushing record. That's the only thing we're going to get. So when Barry faxed his retirement in from the Wichita Eagle and boarded that plane for London, after a few days of going through the stages of grief, of, you know, negotiating and denial and everything else, and you resigned to the fact that Barry wasn't coming back, I looked around and I'm like, for who? For what? And I left. I left my dad to be a Lions fan, left my younger brother to be a Lions fan. They've had all this misery since then. I left that toxic relationship. Not to say I haven't been in a toxic relationship since, but I left that particular toxic relationship and have not regretted it, not one damn day. Not one.
But you know what? Some people change.
No, they
That's why
don't.
some people get remarried. Some people get remarried. Remember that? You ever hear these couples?
You don't change.
They were married. They got divorced. Then they meet up like 5, 10, 15 years later. Twinkle in his eye, twinkle in her eye. Hey, include twinkle in his eye, twinkle in his eye. Twinkle in her eye, twinkle in her eye. Okay, it's fine. Okay. And they reconnect. And it's fine. After 50. You need to go through something. You need to separate to really appreciate what they had. You need to go back. You need to go back to the Detroit Lions, because the Lions are different now. They're different than they were in 1999. They're different.
All it took for you was 5 weeks to say that they differ for 50 damn years?
Yeah, that's a good one. You raised a good point. That's a good point. Vinnie, for our next conversation, here's my thought on the NBA awards, how they renamed them. Why not be a little bit more imaginative? Like, Wilt Chamberlain is great. Do we need another award for Wilt Chamberlain? Why not a Rookie of the Year that people don't know? And so give some love to characters in NBA history who haven't gotten a lot of attention. Right?
Like who?
You could do that.
Like who?
Okay, we need another we need another Wilt Chamberlain. We need another John Havlicek award. Come on.
They don't have one at all.
Bob McAdoo, Nate Archibald. Come on. There are a lot of guys out there. Clark Kellogg. Hey, thanks for watching Brother from Another on YouTube. Make sure you hit subscribe before you leave, and be sure to watch us 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time on Peacock. Appreciate you.